Hello, I'm Michaela, the fashion designer behind By Moonlight Handmade. And today I'm going to be showing you how to make the Nereid skirt, which is my first pattern. The Nereid was initially designed for my sister for her 22nd birthday. She is an astronomer. I asked her to name it, and I said, like, what are your favorite celestial bodies? And the Nereid was one of them, and it's also like tied into Greek mythology. So I thought that was a great name for a pattern, and so this is the Nereid. It's got like the scallops from the ocean, but also like wavy and frilly. It features a scalloped hem. She's got a drawstring waistband, so it's totally adjustable. There is 12 sizes. The information for it will be down below. If you don't want the drawstring action, there is an elastic option. There's also an option to put a mini elastic through the drawstring channel just to help it gather, so you don't have to do all the work that I just did. That was something that I chose to add in later, and we'll go over that today. It's got a tiny bit of a high-low hem. The scallop is just there. It's way more obvious on. And today I will be making this gorgeous mustardy rustic color for my best friend with the drawstring waistband. I do plan in the future to make another video showing you how to do the elastic waistband, but it's way less complex, so I won't be filming that today. We'll make this and I'll show you some tips and tricks along the way, and hopefully the skirt turns out great and fits my bestie. It's available right now if you're watching this and you've got here without the link from the pattern. You can go buy it. I will link it down below. And I think that's all. So let's get sewing. So our first portion of instructions is the skirt. What we're going to do first across all 4 skirt pieces is stay stitch along the top here. That will help stabilize the fabric and stop it from warping so much. It probably will be fine without it, especially this is a much more stable cotton. If you're using something looser like a rayon or a linen or chiffon or a crepe, you're really going to want to stay stitch and stabilize as much as possible just to stop the fabric from warping. I've had that happen before very early on in my sewing career, I guess we'll call it. I have paid a lot of money for some very pretty linen, and then it had lines on it. It was a very nice plaid, and they were just like so out of whack. So yeah, I recommend stay stitching wherever you can if you have a loosey-goosey fabric. And then after that, we will attach the sides. If you are maybe new to sewing, all the pieces should have these notches in the side. And both side pieces, they've got bigger notches in them than the front, so they will line up together. Yeah, see, all the notches match here, so it all lines up. That's our back and our side. And we've got the front, which has a tiny notch, which should match up to the other side of they're kissing. What I'll do right now is stay stitch the tops and sew together all the side seams matching the notches, and I'll see you in a bit. Also with the base, the stay stitching, it is a line of basting, which is just temporary stitches, and you want it to be on the longest length. I have a Singer Start machine, so I have 3 options of stitch lengths and I'm going with my longest. Oh, also it's good if any basting stitches you do are on the inside of the seam allowance. For the Nereid skirt, all the seam allowances are 1 centimeter except for the hem. So you just want your basting stitches to be inside that 1 centimeter, maybe at like 8 millimeters or whatever. What I do is I would just line up the edge of my fabric with the edge of the presser foot, and then I know that's less than 1 centimeter. Let's sew. I don't like pinning. I don't love it, but for propriety's sake, I'm gonna do it because I expect everyone to have much better habits than I do. But yes, I'm trying to force myself into pinning more because it does make a better garment at the end of the day. So we've got this pinned now, and we're going to sew 1 centimeter of seam allowance along that edge, and then repeat for the 3 other seams. Now that we've sewn it all into what is technically a skirt, it's just very unfinished, we're going to sew gathering stitches. On your pattern, you will see the dot here. I do recommend marking it as a dot, otherwise you might get it confused with some notches that are on the back piece. But for some reason, I cut them as little slits, so that's where I know the dot is. So what we're going to do is sew gathering stitches from that dot on at the side skirt panel all the way across the front to the dot on the other side skirt panel, and then from there we'll create another gathering stitch going from there across the back and back to the start. I only do 1 set of gathering stitches, but if you want your gathers to be really nice and uniform, I would recommend 2. Lots of people would recommend 2. Is it however lazy you feel in that day kind of thing? Actually, I might do 2 because the skirt is not for me. It's for someone else. Once we put them in, we're not going to gather. So just leave it flat. This is for later, but doing it now, it makes it kind of like less cumbersome. And when you are sewing, you're going to want to direct the seams in the way that you will later iron them down, which I'll go over when we're sewing. Again, longer stitch. Again, it would be helpful if this was within the seam allowance. If it's not, that's fine. You can take it out later. When you get to the front, you want this seam to face towards the front. We should have finished these first. When you get to the final front seam, you want to lay that way, towards the center of the front. Just going to put a pin in where that dot is to remind myself to stop there. Okay, we want to leave some long tails, some thread tails, so you can grip something as you pull them in. And then now we're going to go across the back. The same thing with the seams. You want to press them towards the center of the back panel. Now we press. Ironing your seams helps them to look better. Press the seams the same way we laid them down. So seams including the front panel towards the center of the front panel. If they're on the back panel, we want them to go towards the center of the back panel. And then I press from the outside to make sure that they're like fully ironed. Pressing is technically like, you shouldn't be moving the iron. I move the iron to make it properly flat. But pressing should just be like, boop, boop. And that helps avoid fabric warp once again. So next we'll be finishing the seams. You can overlock them, finish them with a zigzag stitch. Oh, you can also pink them with the zigzag scissors, which are pinking shears. I would avoid against any other types of finishing like flat fell or binding it with bias tape, just because those are bulkier and this is a really lightweight skirt. And if you want the swoosh, we don't want to put we don't want this to be heavy. We want this to be as lightweight as possible, given the fabrics. But also like French seams would be fine if your fabric is light enough. We'll move on to the waistband now. It's the only piece of the pattern that is interfaced, and we will iron it on. And here is where we will press. We don't want to iron this because we don't want to move the fabric around on the interfacing, because otherwise it gets weird. Okay, now that that is interfaced and is a lot more sturdy, we're going to take the back waistband and we will be sewing them right sides together. So just like that. So we're going to pin these together. You want your notches on the same side. Okay, we're going to sew along here. When we get to these, we're going to stop and start again. This leaves the gap for you to insert the drawstring and for it to move about. 1 centimeter. And now we're going to iron it again. Cool. Instructions, it's I say it should now be a loop, which this is what it is. Oh my god. I thought I twisted it. Be careful not to twist your waistband when you're attaching it. We'll press these flat because that will create less bulk. Look how nice that looks. Now we're going to fold it in half, like so. Doesn't matter directionally, just as long as you're folding it hot dog way. Okie dokie, and then we have our pressed waistband. We want to put the notches on the inside for now. And what we're going to do is fold this up. Well, we can make it flat again if we want. We're going to fold it and iron it by 8 millimeters. So we're gonna go 8 millimeters. You want to measure 8 millimeters from the fabric and not the interfacing. Let's frickin' go. This is the most annoying part of this pattern, I'll be honest, and I'm sorry. So now that, if we fold it again, you can see the overhang there. That's should be 8 millimeters. And so now what we do is we attach it to the skirt. Oh! And here is where all the gathering is gonna happen. Where are my pins? My pins! Hot tip. Have 2 pin cushions. One on your ironing board and one at your sewing desk. And so when you're ironing, you already have pins at your ironing board, and then when you forget to take your pin cushion back to your desk, you've got a place to put your pins. It's been game-changing for me. This is the front panel and these are the front seams. On your waistband, we will want to flip it so the notched side is on the inside, so this raw edge is showing. We're going to place the skirt inside the waistband. We will match the two small notches on the front of the waistband, the interfaced part of the waistband, we will match to the front seams. So the seam itself should be aligned with the point of the notch. Actually, yeah, let's gather first. Front of the skirt, and we are going to grab those gathering stitches that we put in earlier. Not very neatly, I might say. I hope yours is neater than mine. Place your skirt inside the waistband, so right sides together. So you can see the outside of your skirt and the inside of your waistband. We'll pin the waistband to the front and then we'll do the back. It is the notches in the center back. So we can just pin that and then gather it because it'll be super even. Because we want the tug of the gathers to stop in the middle anyway. Well, that's how I do it. So once again, we will grab the ends. Okay. And we just pull it. Hello, it is later. I had to charge and empty my phone. So yeah, if things looks different, that's why. We were doing the back of the skirt that goes into the back waistband. Only needs to be gathered a little bit and mostly into the side, because the seam of the waistband should line up with your big dot. Then yeah, we mostly want the gathers on the side, not the back. When you end up gathering it or putting in your elastic, you'll automatically get that. So this is without the gathers in it, and then we put the gathers in. All right, so we're all pinned. It does take a while to adjust all the gathers and everything, but it's well worth it. Like, it already looks, ow, I just stabbed myself. It already looks so good, you know? So let's, sure. Guess whose waistband is all attached? So it's nice and gathered on the front, and on the back is less gathered. Still nice and gathered, but less gathered. And now we're going to refold down the waistband. If you've chosen to do the drawstring view of the skirt, you have the option of putting in a small elastic just to make it easier to gather it up. So you put that in before you fold the waistband down. It should measure, so it's going to cinch up to here, but where we want it to measure is just a bit lower than your waist. So it's not like super, it doesn't do all the gathering for you because then it's less adjustable. So you just want it to be a bit bigger than the back half of your waist. You don't want the full waist measurement. And so we'll pin it in here. And as we sew along, we will stretch it out. It's 6:15 now. I've just made a huge mistake. We're gonna pause this here and I'll see you in the morning. Hello and welcome back to the Michaela Show. So where we left off. Oh, I should talk about what I'm wearing. So this, I don't know. This is the Sabrina dress. I don't know that I'm going to release it as a pencil dress because there's so many. But what I want to do for this one is have like a full gathered skirt and the other one have like an 8 gored skirt. I'm not going to get into it now because this is a different video. This is a tutorial, but just look out for this. It's got, this is a 12. These aren't right, but it's got a deep V in the back. Anyway, it should be in the top half where the folded bit is. This is where I messed up and it should be here instead. where on the side with the folded hem. And then once that's in, so we're gonna go. Okay, let's put it in properly. So we'll go boop, and we'll put it on the other end as well. Make sure not to twist your elastic because that would be a little catastrophic. Find the center of your elastic. I'm gonna put a pin in it, and yes, I redid my nails. It's Christmas, beach. You wanna place your elastic, like, we'll pin that in place. On the other end. Taking the center. We want to pin it in alignment with the center. Okay. With the center of the back waistband, I should say. And when we sew it, we're going to be stretching it gently. Gently stretch it so it stretches out, and then once it's not stretched, everything will gather. I can't believe that just happened. That won't happen because you'll sew this down first. Also, a good thing would be to measure like 2.5 centimeters along this part of your machine. So 2.5 for me is exactly that line. 2.5 must be an inch. Okay, so we've sewn that in. It should look like this. Now we are going to fold the entire waistband down, tucking in this little guy. It's best to iron it and then pin it from the outside. We fold that up. Ugh. This is kind of already easy because we ironed it before. It's already got that crease in it. So we're going to fold it over, making sure to tuck this up and in. And from the outside, if we pin right on the seam, ooh, just like that, we'll be catching this. And so when we sew along here, we're also sewing this little flap down. And again, just pinning right along the seam. Now, when we reach the back, because of the gathers, it's going to be a little bit weird. So we just, like when we sewed it, you just want to stretch it out and it will line up. It's all pinned. We'll stitch in the ditch. We want to stitch in the ditch or seam stitch, which is stitching along the seam line. You want to pull it so you can see your thread, the tiny threads through there. And you just do a little back and forth. Again, you want to go slow because it's hard. So the slower you go, the better it'll be. Once we get to the elastic part, we want to pull it and sew it at the same time, which is really hard. This is like the advanced part of the advanced beginner. But see, just stretch it. You only need to stretch until the next pin. Hold it down and spread the seam apart again. And voila! What we're doing is we're sewing 2 top stitching channels. It should line up with the opening here for the drawstring to go through, or just to add some top stitching to the back of your elasticated waistband. The reason why it's hard with the mini is because you want to encase it inside the drawstring channel. We don't want it to be caught by the stitches because otherwise its first top stitching line should be 1.5 centimeters from the edge of the waistband. Oh, it's already down. Okay, cool. I'm going slowly and I'm just feeling where that elastic is inside the channel. And you can see the ridge here. I'm just making sure not to sew on top of it. Okay, and then the second row, 2.5 from this outside edge of the waistband. again, just careful not to catch the elastic, which I think I just did. So good job, Michaela. Okay, so now that that's all gathered, the elastic is kind of stretched out from all the pulling we did. So what we're going to do is steam it, because that will help it like shrink back up again. I don't really know the physics of that. It's heat makes things shrink. Do this if you're doing the white elastic as well. It just helps. Look, you can see there's like more gathers now because it is shrunken. Now we will grab these really freaking long ruffles, and what we're going to do is pin the ends together and sew them so we have a loop. And now we have one of the longest ruffles in the world. Makes me feel like a magician, like I'm pulling all these scarves out. Anyway, what we do now is iron these parts down, and then after this we're going to finish the seams and the both the top and bottom. It's a lot of work, but it needs to be done. Hello, I'm back for lunch and I have overlocked everything you see, and now it is time to hem. So what I do, because I'm lazy, is I just fold it once, because I do have a nice overlocked edge. I also really like the look of a contrasting overlocking stitch. However, if you don't and you just want everything to blend in, just fold it once and fold it twice, and that should be about 1.5 centimeters as well. I've hemmed it. Looks stunning. Now I want to show you my favorite hack, which is to gather. I only use one gathering stitch for this, so I'm gonna show you that right now. So what I do that I think is groundbreaking, I definitely learnt this off the internet. You line up where you want your gathering stitches inside the seam allowance. We'll never forget. You turn your tension right up. If you're doing a really tight gather, you want to make it like at a knot, like all the way. And my longest stitch. And you want your tails to be really long, just in case you do end up over gathering it, then you can pull it out a little bit. Because this is a thinner cotton, it is going to gather automatically by itself. What else you can do is you can hold this and it will give you the tightest, most even gather just by pinching your top stitching thread. And look at that, it's already a bit gathered. Something else I didn't mention is that I like to gather only between each seams and leave like each seam is gathered as a separate piece. So we do 4 lots of gathers. That way it makes it easier to get it just right in between each skirt panel. Yay! That's just from using the technique I showed you. It's all nicely ruffled, and now I have to attach it to the bottom of the skirt. I like to put the skirt inside the ruffle. Here we have the front of the skirt. Get your ruffle. Find a seam. Line it up with this seam. We want to match the seams together. Grab a pin that, and then we grab the next seam, line them up. Wow, look at it all. Oh no. You just gotta like push them until they look even. It's a long process. I'm going to repeat these steps on the rest of the frill and then attach it to the skirt. So with right sides together, we're going to stitch on these straight ends, not the angled ends, just the straight ones. just the straight square ends. Okay, now we will iron. Okay. So now we are going to, I'll be real, this doesn't need to be pinned, but we're just going to, from one end to the other, fold it in half and sew 1 centimeter away from the folded edge. And on these angled ends, we'll just, on one angled end, we'll sew this closed. Okay, now as you can see, we've got, it's all sewn up on this end. And the other end I have left open so we can turn it inside out, which is what we'll do with this. We'll push this inside, but first we need to trim everything. So let me show you how I do that. It's really not rocket science. You just snip along. It's just so it doesn't bunch up inside. Although if you leave this inside the tube, actually I might do that. If you leave this stuff inside the tube, it kind of fills it and it can look really nice. I'm going to do that now that I've thought about it. I'm going to use this broken knitting needle, and hopefully it will come back out okay. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Because it's cut on the bias, it will stretch more. That out part, it just, ow. And now for this bit, I'm going to tuck this stuff inside. I'm just using my unpick. Tuck it all in there. Get really precise and make another angle. And then I'm going to just top stitch about 1 millimeter away from the edge here, and then do it on the other end to match. And I will be back to show you. Here they are. I have this, might be a darning needle. I'm gonna see if that will work through here because it will be easier than a safety pin, which sometimes comes undone. You find the hole you made on the side. Yeah, you just keep on trucking along. Try not to poke any holes. Watch this, watch this. Just pull it until it looks about even. Now that this is in and everything's the same length, I'm going to sew a stitch, like back stitch, just between on the drawstring channel. I'm going to secure the drawstring to the skirt. Hello, I am heading off to dinner with my friend in a minute, so I thought I'd pop in and show you her skirt before I don't have it to show you anymore. Oh no, it's hard to showcase because of the drawstring. This is the top, it's the bottom. It looks pretty good from all angles. It's pretty nice. This is the inside with my tag. I have a tag. They are huge. I thought they were going to be like that big, but yeah. I love it, and I hope Sarah loves this skirt. Thank you for sewing with me and sewing my pattern if you've purchased it. There will be more.